Good morning. Good morning and welcome. I was just kidding the Chancellor that I feel like the George Plimpton of Syracuse University, and that reign is coming to an end. I want to welcome Amy and James and MJ and Tommy and John, of course. I want to take a moment to thank Syracuse Athletics, the coaches, the staff, and the student athletes. For the last 8 weeks, I've had the opportunity to collaborate with all of you. And one thing is for sure, Syracuse is fortunate to have this group. And I had the opportunity this morning to talk to all of the staff and thank them on behalf of Herman and myself for putting us or getting us through the 8-week period. And my goal for the next 2 or 3 weeks is to help John transition, and we couldn't be more excited. As I noted on May 19th, the Chancellor was very anxious to make sure that this went quickly and smoothly, and I think we achieved that goal. Again, the next 2 or 3 weeks will be critical, but I think we achieved that goal. The thing that I think strikes me the most about having this unique opportunity was the people and how great the department is and how fortunate we are in Syracuse, New York, to have the kind of talent, the kind of dedication, and the kind of people that are in this room and serve this department. I've said repeatedly that I didn't think we'd have a hard time finding talent for the position, and that really did prove to be the case. I was fortunate enough to help staff the search committee, and I can tell you that the candidates that applied and came into that process were spectacular. And this is a job that people want. And we were super fortunate to find John and have John commit to us. He's not only committed to Syracuse Athletics, he's committed to Syracuse University, and he's committed to our region. And so, again, we couldn't be more pleased, and I've enjoyed it, and I'm glad to be moving back to the General Counsel's office. So, thank you. Thank you very much.
I'm going to keep my remarks short. I'm Rick Burton. I'm the faculty athletic rep for the university to the ACC and to the NCAA. And I speak kind of as an alumnus, as an avid sports fan, but also as a member of the Syracuse University faculty. And it's a great honor to have served on the search committee with the others who were a part of this great decision that we were fortunate enough to be able to make. A lot has been said about John, and more will be said, but I think his impressive track record is going to speak for itself. Many of you will be familiar with it, but what I want to do today is I want to talk mostly about our student athletes and the amazing students that we have here as part of this athletic department. And we think that Syracuse University offers really the best of both worlds for student athletes who come here, both in terms of the academics, but also the athletics that they're a part of. We think this university fosters a supportive environment that allows our students to compete at the highest level, and we think we do this through our support of the facilities that they're able to play in, by competing in the ACC, which is one of the top conferences in the country, and by recruiting and hiring the best administrators and the best coaches in the country. And I think that's evidenced not only by the hiring of John, but also by Coach Babers, who just got here a few months ago. The university takes great pride in positioning its student athletes for success both inside and outside the classroom. Off the playing fields, our student athletes are doing great things. They're involved in cutting-edge research and scholarship in labs and in the field, and they're also here as graduate students. They're pursuing a variety of academic endeavors, many carrying heavy course loads to graduate as double majors and/or with honors. They're student leaders involved in many student and philanthropic organizations. I think most of you would know that it takes great character and commitment to balance the demanding schedule of a student athlete, but our student athletes navigate this tricky balancing act every day of their academic career here. Today, our student athletes have a great new leader to look up to, a new person who's going to inspire them, and that person is John Wildhack. John's commitment to excellence, his seamless ability to transcend decades in an ever-evolving industry, and his longstanding ties and dedication to Syracuse University as an alum, as a donor, as a member of the Falk College Advisory Board, and as an employer who has hired dozens of Syracuse alums, I don't think there could be a better role model for us to have here at Syracuse University as our new athletic director. I'm pleased to introduce to you one of our great student athletes, a talented one, a young lady who played for the national championship in women's basketball last year, and someone who I think really needs no introduction, but I'm going to introduce her anyways, Miss Brittany Sykes.
Thank you, Professor Burton. And thank you, Chancellor Syverud, for this once-in-a-lifetime experience and being a part of this process and finding somebody as great as John. During the search, we had a lot of great candidates, but none more impressive than John Wildhack. To have a candidate like John, a Syracuse graduate himself, and one who has worked with the most elite athletes, organizations in the world, it elevates Syracuse University instantly. While we were interviewing John, he treated me as an equal. It didn't matter that I was not a university leader, a professor, or a coach. He heard what I had to say and valued my input and respected my role on the search committee as much as any of my fellow committee members. It has been such a great experience being a student athlete here at Syracuse. I have had tremendous support from my professors, my coaches, my teammates, and the SU community. As an athlete, there's nothing worse than having serious injuries. But when I was hurt, I was so thankful to everyone for all the love that they showed me and the care that they had to support me through my full recovery. My point now is that Syracuse is in great hands when it comes to John Wildhack. And I think after the pep rally just a few months ago, where thousands of fans came out to wish us good luck, and as we were headed to the NCAA tournament, that energy and that excitement and support proves that there is no better place to be but Syracuse. And today, Syracuse University has added on a great person in John Wildhack as the new athletic director. And I know that he will be a great voice for Syracuse. I am now pleased to have the opportunity to introduce Chancellor Syverud. He and his wife, Dr. Chen, spent many days on the road and in the dome cheering us on, especially this past season, for what me and my teammates have accomplished. Thank you.
Thank you, Brittany. Good morning, and thanks everybody for joining us as we celebrate the arrival of our next Director of Athletics, John Wildhack. I first want to thank a lot of people who made today possible, including all the staff in the Office of Special Events, all of our student athletes, our coaches, our staff, who have done so much for this university, particularly in the last couple years. I thank particularly Dan French and Herm Frazier for stepping up during a time of transition and providing sound interim leadership, and particularly for doing 52 weeks of work in the last 8 weeks. I also want to acknowledge and thank the whole team from Korn Ferry, including Jed Hughes and Kyle Bowlesby, who I believe are here today, who supported the university during this quick search. It was a quick search, but it was a thorough and very careful one. The members of the search committee worked very hard as well in a swift and meticulous manner, and they include Coach Dino Babers, Rick Burton and Brittany Sykes, who you've just heard from, Kimberly Keenan-Kirkpatrick, who's the Deputy Athletics Director and Senior Women's Administrator, and Bob Myron, who's University Trustee and chairs the Board of Trustees Athletics Committee. Today is an exciting day for Syracuse University. It comes on the heels of an incredibly successful year for Syracuse Athletics. This past year alone, Syracuse Athletics finished in 21st place in the 2015 to 2016 Learfield Division I Directors Cup standings, the best result in school history. Syracuse brought home 2 national titles, 5 conference titles. The men's and women's basketball team made historic Final Four runs, and the men's soccer team appeared in the semifinals of the College Cup. Every day, our student athletes, coaches, and staff represent Syracuse University with class and with humility and with dedication and with heart, and they make us proud. They sure make me proud every day. Today, I take great pride in introducing a new leader for all of us, a new director of athletics, John Wildhack. He's a dedicated leader whose ability to motivate and inspire a team lifted the entire ESPN organization for decades. He has been a central figure in that network's growth and success. ESPN is not simply a cable sports network. It represents the ideal of understanding a fast-evolving national landscape in athletics. John and his colleagues did not only react and respond to change, they anticipated it, they embraced it, and they made sure that they got there first. In that way, they became international leaders. John brings boundless energy, knowledge, and intuition to the most critical position in Syracuse athletics. He also brings a wonderful element of humility and humanity. From our conversations, it is clear that he understands the difficulties and challenges faced by student athletes in this century. He wants their experience to be one in which they learn first, in which they grow, in which they become better citizens and better human beings. There were many excellent candidates for the AD position this summer. I believe we could not have made a finer choice. I could speak today about the deals John has brokered with the major intercollegiate conferences and professional sports league in this nation and around the world. I could speak about his intimate involvement with some of the greatest and most high-profile sporting events in the world. And yet I prefer to speak about a different qualification, the one that will resonate across central New York. I grew up in Irondequoit outside Rochester. I was shaped by what I can only describe as an upstate ethic of hard work and loyalty to where you're from. Not quite 3 years ago, I agreed to serve as Chancellor at Syracuse University. A major factor in my decision was the opportunity of returning to upstate and particularly to Syracuse. In speaking with John, I felt that same quality. He was raised in Buffalo, which means, like many of us, he's lived out the communal and painful beauty of cheering for the Buffalo Bills. He speaks of his undergraduate years at this university as some of the most pivotal and important of his life. He understands how devotion to Syracuse athletics is often an expression of love and allegiance toward the place where you were raised. To say his family bleeds orange would be an understatement. His father, Robert, his sister, Linda, his brother, Henry, his nephews, Rob and Sean, are all Syracuse alumni. His sister-in-law, Teresa, is currently a doctoral candidate here. Any university in the nation would be extremely fortunate to have John Wildhack as athletic director. Any university in the nation would be fortunate. But one university, our university, is the only one that can say, John is coming home. We welcome you, John. We welcome your wife, Amy. We welcome your sons, MJ and Tommy and James. We look forward to seeing you bring your bold vision for Syracuse athletics to life, and we look forward to you doing it while wearing orange. So please join me in welcoming Syracuse University's Director of Athletics, John Wildhack.
Thank you. Thank you. It is great to be home. It is awesome to be here and to be home. It's truly one of the more special days in my life. Special thanks to a few people who've helped in this transition process for me. Dan French, Kevin Quinn, Sue Edson, and Mary Kelly have been tremendous in terms of kind of fast-starting my onboarding process. I do want to introduce my family who's here. My oldest sister, Linda, Syracuse grad, brother Henry, Syracuse grad, sister-in-law, Teresa, doctoral candidate, as the Chancellor said, sons, Tommy and James, who are diehard Syracuse fans, my wife, Amy. Now, Amy went to Rollins College, but she is adopted Orange, and she had no choice. But I want to, my son MJ, he's 25, he's working at home in Connecticut, as he should. and my nephews Sean and Rob, who we are extraordinarily close to, and they're Syracuse graduates. My family's been awesome through this process, and Amy and the boys have been so supportive. And one of the things that we decided and we talked about as a family, and that I've referenced many times to the Chancellor, is this has to be a we decision, not a me. This is not a me decision, this has to be a we decision. And I can tell you, we are so excited to join the Central New York community and look forward to being here for a long time. I'd like to thank the Chancellor, the search committee, and the athletic committee. I am proud, honored, and very humbled to have been chosen as your next athletics director. As part of this process, one of the things that I enjoyed the most was getting to know the Chancellor. His vision for the university is incredibly exciting. The campus framework can be transformative for this university, for our students. The renovation of the dome, the building of the arch can become a great resource for all students at Syracuse University. The other thing I've enjoyed is just getting to know the Chancellor as a person. And he grew up in Irondequoit. As he said, I grew up in Buffalo, and we just kind of, there's kind of an upstate New York connection there that's very unique. It's important for me to thank John Skipper, the President and CEO of ESPN, and my team at ESPN. John has been incredibly supportive throughout this process. He is a great leader for ESPN. He's been a great colleague, a great mentor, and a friend of mine, and I am eternally grateful for his support and the support of all my ESPN colleagues. Syracuse Athletics is in a position of strength. We're coming off a tremendous year. We're a very significant contributor to the success of the ACC, one of the Power Five conferences. And we come off a year featuring national championships in cross country, field hockey, national championship appearance by Coach Q and the women's team, Final Four appearances for women's lacrosse, men's basketball, and men's soccer in the College Cup. That is incredibly impressive. Equally as impressive and equally as important is we had a great year academically. 63% of our student athletes had a GPA of 3.0 or better, 63%. 11 of our teams had a perfect APR of 1,000. I've learned quickly, we have a remarkable group of student athletes on this campus. We should be incredibly proud of their accomplishments, not only on the playing field, but also in the classroom. My staff and I will build on our strengths. Our objective is to have an environment where our student athletes maximize their performance and their potential in the classroom and on the playing field. We want to prepare them for future success at whatever field, whatever endeavor they choose, and wherever they choose to do it. And we want them to be proud alumni of Syracuse University and to be great representatives of Syracuse University. Crucial to that success of our student athletes are our head coaches and their staffs. And I've quickly learned that we have a terrific group of head coaches who are deeply committed to our student athletes, the university, and the community. My staff and I look forward to building on the success, working with all our coaches, and to ensure that we create a foundation for sustained success, both academically and athletically. We have a terrific staff in the athletic department. Our department will be defined by integrity, a passion for all things Syracuse, the university, the student athletes, all students, the community, the region, and a group which collaborates amongst each other and within all facets and all branches of the university. We want our program to be a point of pride for the entire university, our students, our alumni, the community, and Orange fans worldwide. And when we win and when we have success, the credit will be given to our student athletes and the coaches. To our fans in Syracuse and the surrounding area, thank you for your support of the university and Syracuse athletics. It is so important and impactful to our student athletes and our coaches. I'm fortunate to have many great memories as a fan in the stands, whether it was Archbold Stadium back in the 70s when I was an undergrad, I was there in September of 1980 when the Dome opened. Now, most recently, with my family and I enjoying basketball and football games in the Dome. So I invite, and my staff invites, all Orange fans everywhere to come support all of our student athletes. I'm honored, I'm humbled, and I cannot wait to get started. Thank you.
Thank you, John. We'll now take questions from the members of the media. If you please raise your hand. Question up here for Mark Larson.
Hey, John, Mark Larson, Time Warner Cable News. Good to have you here.
Thank you, Mark.
Your predecessor also called this a dream job, and so did a previous football coach. So when you say dream job, some people around here shudder a little bit. Why should we believe you about it?
Well, I think number one is my roots. You know, being a native of upstate New York, being an undergraduate here, being a proud alumnus of Syracuse, keeping a connection after graduation through the Newhouse School, through the Falk School. You know, this Central New York is incredibly important to me and to our family. And I think the other thing is, you know, this will be the first move I've made in 36 years. So that tells you I'm probably not the most transient person in the world, right? Secondly, as I look at my family, if I come to them anytime soon and say, what about a move, they will all disown me. So I am here, I am proud to be here and grateful.
John, Nico Tamuri at NBC3 and
Yes.
CBS 5 here in Syracuse. Welcome.
Thank you.
You mentioned just how this athletics department is in such a position of strength with the way the programs perform, but also the carrier renovations announced recently. How close were you able to follow everything that was going on with that, and how much does that add to the general excitement for you to take over here?
I just think there's so much momentum across the entire university. When you see the construction that's ongoing, and again, as I mentioned, the master plan, the Dome is part of that. So there's so much momentum. There's positive energy here, and this is it's a great institution. It's a great institution. It's not only it's nationally known, it's internationally known. I mean, the one thing I've learned in my time at ESPN, the Syracuse brand, how respected and how impactful that is. So again, it's, you know, our best days as a university lie ahead.
Hey, John. Stephen
Hey,
Bailey.
Stephen.
I cover the SU football team for the Post-Standard and Syracuse.com. What was it like to get to know Dino Babers, kind of with him being on the search committee? And what's kind of your understanding of what he does and kind of your view for him moving forward?
I thoroughly enjoy getting to know Coach Babers in this process. And one of the things that I'm most impressed about Coach Babers, he has a defined philosophy. Defined philosophy on offense. We're going to go spread. We're going to go fast. We're going to go faster than anybody else. You know, defense, it's the Tampa 2. And when you have a philosophy, that then allows him to, and his staff, to recruit the student athletes who can have success in those offensive and defensive philosophies. The other thing is just, you know, his commitment to student athletes and the academic side was very, very impressive. And I had when he was hired, I had a number of our ESPN analysts reach out to me and say, great hire, he'll do a terrific job. So I'm excited about working with Coach Babers.
Hi, John. Brent Axe, Syracuse Media Group and ESPN Radio here in town. A lot of people have said that, you know, you fit the description of the modern-day athletic director. What do you see as what the modern-day athletic director is going forward?
Well, you know, that's for others, I think, to probably define. I mean, you know, for me is, A, the passion I have for this university, all facets of the university. You know, B, I have had tremendous experience and very rewarding experience there, dealing with various conferences, dealing with the NCAA, et cetera. But I think most important is the passion that I bring. I'll challenge my staff. You know, again, we're in a great place. How do you get better? And I will rely heavily on my staff. It's a very, very talented group. And I think collectively together, and I mentioned collaboration, we will collaborate as a staff, and if we do that, and we do that with our colleagues across the university, we'll have success.
John, Stephen Fonte,
Steve.
Channel 9 here in Syracuse. Welcome back.
Thank you, Steve.
Congratulations. You mentioned your 36 years at ESPN. I'm sure this isn't the first opportunity that you had to break away from that network. So what was it about this job? And can you give us some insight into how this all came to be, when you realized you were interested, and how this whole thing happened for you?
Well, I think I've had other opportunities to leave ESPN and some very intriguing opportunities, but I always thought ESPN was the right place to stay. Part of this, Steve, it's a big passion play, right? There's no question. I mean, the love that I have for this university is significant. The chance to come home, the chance to work with young people, right, and help young people develop academically, develop athletically, to work with a talented group of coaches, that excites me. The support of my family. As I said, this is a we, not a me decision. And throughout the process, and Korn Ferry was terrific, and Jed Hughes was awesome. What really piqued my interest is on a Saturday morning, I spent the morning with the Chancellor and other members of the search committee. And when I walked out of that meeting to myself, I said, you know what, this is something that I want to pursue. And then I went back and, Amy and I and the boys, we talked about it the next morning, and we made the decision, let's go for it. And things came together quickly.
Jeff Kulikowski from News Channel 9, also here in Syracuse, ABC. Welcome back to Syracuse here.
Thank you, Jeff.
John, I'm curious what it feels like right now to stand there, to walk into this room, to see an almost full auditorium, to welcome you back to town and welcome you to this position here.
Yeah, I'm not sure I can describe it. It's an awesome feeling. The one thing I will tell you, it feels so right. It feels so right.
Hey, John, Mark Larson again.
Yep, Mark.
Coach Boeheim has been quoted saying he's thrilled to have you back. Can you talk about your relationship with Coach Boeheim and why he would say something like that?
Well, I've had the pleasure of knowing Coach and Julie for a number of years. Jim grew up in a little town of Lyons, New York, and my grandfather had a little drugstore in Newark, New York, which is 6 miles down the Erie Canal. And I know Jim used to go to my grandfather's drugstore and have a little soda every once in a while, a little root beer float, I think. And we've just gotten to know each other over the years, and we've not spent a lot of time together, but we like to play golf. We're both mediocre. We used to be pretty good. Now we're mediocre, but I've gotten to know Jim and Julie, and I've enjoyed their company, and there's nobody who's more loyal and dedicated to the university and the community than Julie and Jim.
Tad Fundalinsky, I'm with Time Warner Cable Sports Channel. This is a two-part question. The first one's a little more serious. What's your first agenda in your role? And the second part of the question is, what's your plan on bringing in chicken wings into the university role?
In terms of my first priority, it's getting to know my staff. I think that's really important in establishing a personal connection with everybody in the athletic department, particularly the senior staff, getting up to speed as quickly as I can. What are the opportunities? Where are we great? Where can we improve upon? And letting them get to know me as a person. And I want to know them more than just as somebody who I work with. I want to get to know them as a person. What do they like? What are their interests outside of work, their families, et cetera, that type of thing. And really develop a connection with people. And I think if you can do that, you create a culture. And I think any successful organization has a defined and unique culture. And that's what I want to work to try to create. In terms of the chicken wings, I have no idea, but I know the Anchor Bar in Buffalo still makes the best in the world.
Chris Carlson from Syracuse.com and the Post-Standard. We've talked a lot about football scheduling here the last couple of years and whether it's been maybe too ambitious at times. The game with Middle Tennessee looks like it signals a shift maybe towards 2 Power 5 games, fewer big-name opponents. What's your sense of what's a good balance for the program?
Well, I really want to sit down with Coach Babers and get his perspective on it, because obviously you want to compete at a high level, but you also want to put our student athletes in a position where they can have success as well. And obviously, the ACC is a competitive conference. Our division, we have Clemson and Florida State. Obviously, their recent success is well known. So, we want to play, Power 5 non-conference foes, but I want to work with Coach Babers and schedule a way that is going to enable our student athletes to have success and our coaching staff.
Mike Waters from the
Hey, Mike.
Syracuse Media Group. Hi, John. About a year ago, Chancellor Severud formally announced a succession plan that Mike Hopkins would succeed Jim Boeheim when Jim chooses to retire. That might be after you're done. Did that come up during the interview process, and are you comfortable with that plan?
It was discussed briefly, and there was again, as you said, there was an announcement made last year, an agreement by all parties. Jim's commitment to Syracuse is second to none. Mike's commitment to Syracuse is amazing as well. Mike's been incredibly loyal. So, I look at it as there's a succession plan in place. What we want to do is we want to navigate that as effectively as we possibly can to ensure that we have the sustained, continued success of men's basketball, because I know how important that program is to the university, the community, and all Orange fans.
John, thank you very much. Thank you, everybody, for attending.
Thank you, everyone.
Have you hold your Syracuse hat.
Okay.